Live. Woo. So there was like a pre-life, right? I remember once I was living in Hillsboro, Oregon, in an apartment, and these two guys came to the door, and they were from the Church of Latter Day Saint, Jesus Christ Church of Latter Day Saints. And so they were telling me about the Book of Mormon and the Pearl of Great Price, and about Joseph Smith and the gold tablets and the spectacle, the special glasses where he could read the gold tablets that the angel of Moroni had delivered to him in the forests of Pennsylvania somewhere. So, but over time, they migrated around the country to Missouri, and finally they settled in Utah, Salt Lake City, and established their church there. But they were telling me about their church, and I remember I went to the museum in Westwood, in in the city of Los Angeles. There's a community of Westwood, which is near Beverly Hills, and there was a temple, a Mormon temple there. And they had a museum, which is an interpretive center. And they had paintings of the Angel Moroni and Joseph Smith, and then they had like a diorama of different scenes of the Mormon, of the history of the Mormon Church. And one of their teachings, Jesus, when he died and he rose from the dead, he came to the United, he came to North America, and appeared to the Native Americans. Um, this is part of the Mormon doctrine. So that was my experience, and I went to a few services, and then I never kept going back there. The interesting thing about church, my exploration into different religions in my past was they didn't want someone that would just show up and then come and go as they pleased and not attend regularly every service consistently. So if you showed up for church and then then you didn't show up the next Sunday, or you missed the Wednesday because you got to go Wednesday and Sunday. A lot of churches have services at those times. And they only want people that are committed. That if they join up, then they're there and they show up and they regularly attend. Now, if you were just like um a tourist, right? And you went, oh, I'll just think, what's this church like? And then you go show up there on a Sunday, and you just like, hey, I meeting great people, and then you don't maybe go next the time, or then you skip, and then you go next. A few months later, you go again, or a few weeks later, you go again. They don't like that. They're like, well, you're either here all the time, and every Sunday you show up, or you're not. You're either a member or you're not. So I found that to be the case with like nonprofits too. If you volunteer for nonprofits, they're like that too. They want, if you say you're going to volunteer, you got to show up regularly every single week. If you don't, just quit. Don't say you'll do it, and don't miss it. So yeah, my tinnitus has gotten a little bit better. It's not gone away completely, but I think what happened was my blood pressure got high. And when my blood pressure's high, I hear that even at a perfectly quiet spot. Like if I just turn off all my fans in my house, I'll hear this low level sounds just like that. So it goes, and it's just my cochlea. The cochlea looks like a snail shell, and there's your auditory nerve spirals into the like in a snail shell shape. And the closer you get to the inside of that cochlea, those are the higher frequencies, and the outside is the lower frequencies. And what happens over time, this is the way I understand tinnitus, is if you hear something a lot in a certain sound range, then it damages that one part of your cochlea if you're continuously exposed to a sound at that sound level or in that frequency range. And what'll happen is that part of your cochlea, it dies, and when the nerves, when the cells that wiggle, that vibrate in the fluid in your cochlea, in the tympanic membrane, that tympanic membrane that spirals in, that whatever frequency, whatever you're hearing, that shh, that's that dead part of the ear. It's dead, and it's the nerve is not, the nerves in that one spot are not functioning healthy, right? So you hear that one part of the frequency, like whatever that is, that inside of my ear, where I'm, that sound level or that sound frequency is where my tympanic membrane perceives that frequency range. That sound, that's where my ear is dead. And unfortunately, as a younger person, I was stupid. I'd go to loud nightclubs, or listen to music really loud with my headset on, or go to a concert and it was really loud, or a movie too. In the movie, when you go to the movies, it's really loud. They have the sound at first, where they have music, or the intro is really loud in the movie theater. For some reason, every time whenever I went to a movie theater, it was like really loud, and then during the movie they'd lower the volume for whatever reason. I think they want to kind of prepare you for it. Maybe that's why they do it that way in the beginning. So maybe my tinnitus is caused by that, but also it's high blood pressure too. I notice when my blood pressure is high, it's more noticeable. Um, Yeah, if you look at the thumbnail, it's a crowd of people. I remember when I was like 7 years old, I lived in Southern California, and it was either 1967 or 68. I can't quite, but it was in that. I was like, it was before I was around 10 years old, because I wasn't tall like I am now. I was still little kid, and we all went to the Santa Claus Lane parade in Hollywood. I think it was around Thanksgiving, and we got in the car. We all went there. And it was like everybody. The streets were like, it was roped off to the sidewalk, right where the curb is, right. So everybody had to stay behind the rope on the sidewalk on the curb, and all the different floats came by, and then the last one was Santa on the float on the in the parade. And it was really, really crowded there. There was people like pushing against you. If you're in a crowd of people, and if you're ever in a really big crowd of people, and everybody's pressing against everybody else while they're in the crowd, that's what it was like for me when I was there. And ever since then, I don't like crowds. I'm like, crowds like are make me nervous. I don't want to be around. I don't want to be in a crowd or around a crowd, unless it's like if it's at a concert and everybody's like seated in their own seat, and everybody's not pushing against everybody else or crowding like that, I can deal with that. But not where your body is pushing against other people's bodies in a crowd of people. There was an incident recently that happened in South Korea, in this one part of the city, right where there's an alleyway. It funneled all the people together, and they got like crushed to death. I mean, people died while they were standing up. Right, it was weird. It was like so many people in a crowded spot were all pushing, that it made everybody like you couldn't breathe, and there was no way to get out of it. Yeah, it's this one street there in this. I think it was Seoul. I'm not sure. It's happened other times. There was a concert, and everybody wanted to get to the front of the concert, so they were pushing against everybody in the crowd to get to the front of the where the band was playing. People like died while their musicians were performing. Right? They didn't know that they had to stop the concert, until they had to tell the people to calm down, right, and not be pushing forward. But it was too late because already the crowd had been pushing. So yeah, I'm afraid of crowds. That one time when I was a kid, I had to get up on top of a news van. It was like one of these TV news reporting vans. I actually climbed on top of the van because I was like a kid, right? And they're pushing everybody on the sidewalk up against the building, and you couldn't get off the sidewalk and go inside because all the storefronts were all closed, so people were just packed up against the side of the buildings, and there's a rope. And I remember, like, one time I did fall, right, and I was like on all fours, and it was like I freaked out. I just, like, because people were like, I couldn't even stand up, right, because I was on my hands and my knees in this crowd of people, everybody pushing against everybody else. This 9-year-old kid, right, at the parade, right? So yeah, no more, no, 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 no more of that. Yeah. Last time I went to, let's see, I saw the Moody Blues in San Luis Obispo. That was in 2011. I think that was in May of 2011. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I was just going to test this out, try it for a little bit. My cat, she has this heating pad, right? So I got her a heating pad. She likes it. But I think it's a little bit too hot for her, so I have to fold over the blanket. Otherwise, she likes it a lot. There's another one I have by the windowsill. So I have to, the one window in the back room has a table right up to the same level as the bottom of the windowsill, and then there's another room where my filing cabinet is, and then there's a couple of storage bins, and they're stacked, and she could get up there, and then I have a heating pad on that too with a blanket over it. So I have three. There's three heating pads in the house that she could use. She don't have to be on the bed, but I got her one because she likes to lay on top of me, and I toss and turn, and she's like, because she's cold, she wants to be warm. So I just got her that heating pad. So now she uses that. She likes that. Tonight I was like making her bed for her, and she lunged at my hand, and she like bit me. She didn't break the skin, but she broke the skin on her claw, clawed me. I don't know if you could see that mark right there. See that? Her claw clawed me right there, broke the skin, and made me bleed. And all I was doing was like I was like moving the blanket. I was like moving her blanket on top of that. She grabbed my hand like she did a death grip, and then scratched me. So when she's done that in the past, I'll just take her and I'll take her and I'll put her outside in her kennel, because there's another cat, a stray cat that prowls around my house, and I have a heating I have a heating pad outside plugged in for the cat that lives outside. I don't I It doesn't never lets me approach it, but I just put food out for it. It comes around, and she knows it's out there. She knows there's another cat outside, so she gets mad at me and she wants to go out, and I don't let her out. at night, you know. So the problem is everybody I know, the, the people in my family, they want me to buy a car or buy a new car. They want me to they want me to travel. They want me to leave my house and take long driving trips to visit them. And then I try to give them all these reasons why I don't want to do that. You know, I don't want to like it's 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 like the timing for purchasing a vehicle isn't right. The the kind of vehicle I want to buy is it's going to require more expense because it's going to be more expensive for me to maintain it and put gas in it and insure it and buy tires for it and maintain it, upkeep it, you know, and then I'm paying more insurance because traveling is expensive. It costs money to put gas in a car and drive it, and it costs money to take a taxi to the rental car agency and then rent the rental car and 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 fill it with gas and put the deposit down and then when I use a rental car, you know, I drive it like on the freeway for, 750 miles to get to where if my relatives want me to come and visit them, I can't I don't just yeah, I don't live close to the airport. So I'd have to take a taxi from my house to the airport, which would be like $250, one way, and then or drive my car to the airport and park my car at the airport, and it's like $20 a day to park at the airport. Or I could like take a taxi to the train station, which is a little bit closer, and that would be like $100 to take it one way, or so it'd be. Or I could rent a car, and a rental car would be $100 a day, and then gas. And by the time I drive all the way there for 2 days of driving, and then get there, and I'm just parking. I park the car, and I don't use it for like a week, right? And then I drive it back, and I pay for every day that I had the car. And you can't just rent the car and then drive to where you're going and drop it off and not pay and be able to like be a visit where you're at and not pay for a rental car during the time you're visiting. And then when you're through visiting, rent a rental car and drive it home and just drop it off. If you do that, it's way more expensive. It's cheaper to rent the car and take it back to where you rented it from. So I don't know. There must be an app. There must be a way of people sharing rides. Like let's say you schedule a trip. Okay, I'm gonna go travel to the city in 3 months from now, right? So you go on an app. There must be an app somewhere you could find all the people that live where you in the area you live in, like within like 5-10 miles of where your house is, where you live, and those people are going to that city, the same city you want to go to, but they're the ones that are driving. So what they do is they offer someone else, like on it, like they have it like Airbnb where they do credit card and that. So you're vetted, right? So you sign up for this and you say, I need to go from here to there on um, let's say Christmas Day, right? So you post that here, this is where you are, you live here, and you're going to this city on such and such a date. And what happens is there might be somebody else. You might put a date range in there, like you want to go from the dates between uh, December December 21st and January 5th. So that date range is anybody out there that lives within 20 miles of me that is going to that city that's renting a car or driving their own car. They have a space available for you to ride along with them. So the app there should be one out there, I'm saying, that should do this. There should be an app you get on there and you schedule a ride and say, oh, they're going to go this state. So you go click and you get on, and so when they're ready to go, they come by your house, pick you up, and you drive all the way there. Because if you get an Uber, if you get an Uber and you get an Uber driver to drive you like a whole day, right, or 2 days or whatever, how a long distance, it's going to be a shitload of money. It's like, but if you could find somebody that's going to that same place that lives near you, that's driving their own car, or you have a car, and they could share gas, right? And and then when they need to come home, they just schedule it like a date range, and it with um another driver in the future. So you're not renting a car and then driving the car where you're going and then just parking it and not using it for like while you're visiting your friends or family or whatever. And then when you're ready to go, you have to drive that same car all the way back home. And all the time that car was sitting there in a parking lot, you're paying for that as a rental car. But I'm saying if you do one way rentals, it's really expensive, right? It's like they charge you to for somebody to hire somebody to go and drive the car back. Right. So, but I don't know. Maybe you could schedule it. Maybe there's car rental agencies that'll schedule one way. Maybe they go, well, somebody's going to take that car to where you're at, where you want to go. There's a rental agency in the town that you want to go to, right? So there's somebody that lives in that town that's coming to where your town is, but they only want to use that rental car one way. So you can call your car rental place and say, "Hey, I'm interested in renting a car one way. Is there a possibility that there could be somebody else that wants to go to that's coming from that city that's going to have that so you'll have a car there available for me to rent that I drive back to the rental agency from whom the person that rented that car from took it one way to the town I live in." You see what I'm saying? So it'd be cheaper. Then you're just renting the car, you're driving it, and then you're turning it in. You're not paying for the time you're not using the vehicle. But I tried that with, it was like, gosh, they charge so much if you want to do that. There should be a way to do it. Like they should be able to schedule you for other. But I don't know. Maybe the town that I'm trying to go to is too small of a town. There's not a lot of people that live where I live at that want to go to that same town, or that would travel to that same town that I'm trying to get to. Yeah, I took the Greyhound bus from there all the way to Portland. It was like it wasn't too bad. I mean, it could have been. They should have, like, when the Greyhound stops, there should be like it should be like the train station, right? When you go to the train station, there's a bathroom there. There's a men's and a woman's bathroom there. They have places to sit down and buy snacks. There's there's like a kiosk for um, a baggage claim and that, and then the bus, the same thing. When you take a Greyhound bus, you should go every town that it stops in. There should be like a waiting area with benches and a bathroom, and but they don't do that. They drop but they stop the bus that you're supposed to go to, like a McDonald's or somewhere, right? And use their bathroom, right? So that's my like. And then the bathroom that's on the Greyhound is like, ugh. It's like you don't want to get up and even go to the. It's like going to the bathroom is like there's only like one bathroom for the men and women on the back of the bus. But it was a comfortable ride. It wasn't my seat wasn't that uncomfortable. It was any more than the train. Whereas the train's more you get up and you walk around. It's more like there's more leg room, more spacious. The problem is the train doesn't go all the way to Grants Pass. It just goes to Eugene, and then Eugene it goes east towards Klamath Falls, south, goes over the mountain there, and then it stops at Klamath Falls, and then from Klamath Falls it goes all the way to like Redding. So the problem is even if you get off the train, so the train arrives at Klamath Falls and leaves Klamath Falls really early in the morning, like 6:30 or 6 a.m. in the morning, and then the train the train going north. But Eugene, the train at Eugene, if you get off at Eugene is more later in the afternoon when it's going south. So it stops at Eugene at about five maybe 4 or 5:30, and then it heads towards Klamath Falls, and it gets to Klamath Falls late, like at around 11 or 12 midnight. So it's kind of like the the timing of the train to the Greyhound is they don't sync up with each other. So if I take the train and then I get off the train and I take a Greyhound, I have to wait. I have to get off. I have to get off the train and then wait around till the next day to catch the Greyhound to go south. And then when I go north from Grants Pass to Eugene, I have to get off the bus, and the train isn't there. So I get off the bus and then there's no train, and I got to wait overnight till the next day and then get on the train. So it's kind of a so the Greyhound and the Amtrak, they don't sync very well there in Eugene at that time. So and then to take an Uber from Eugene to Grants Pass is like $500 or something crazy about, like, or $400, right, to take an Uber to Grants Pass from Eugene. And I thought, well, I could hitchhike, right? But then that's what I was thinking about an app, right? An app says it's like a hitchhiker app, right? So if there's an app, you could call it hitchhiking app. So it would be the people that the people that would both use it for 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 um, for picking up a passenger, they'd be vetted, and the passengers would be vetted also. So it wouldn't be like just people without any, like, their name, they have a credit card, right? So they have, and yeah, I don't know. I'm like at the age where I don't really want to travel either. I'd rather just stay home and watch movies, stay home and try to learn more about the stock market. Right now, right now I've been listening to a lot of conference calls. Yeah, earnings reports, conference calls, and they go over quarterlies. A lot of the companies, they have issues with supply chain, and they give color on guidance about future orders. So they have a backlog. This one company I was listening to, they were saying how they have a backlog of orders, and they're multifaceted also. So they're not just specifically one discipline. They have other. They're a um, they're a parent to children companies. So the parent company over time has bought out smaller companies, but the smaller companies they buy out, they keep their brand name and act semi autonomously as a separate institution, but they're all under the umbrella of the parent company. So there's one company I'm listening to their quarterly report, which is Eaton. I should say the name of the company was Eaton. And I know they make the hydraulic motors and hydraulic controls too. So one company I used to work at, we bought their, we should even say it, but they bought a lot of other, they bought like Parker Hannifin too. That was another company that we used a lot of for prototyping. And then once they started mass producing, they would go to use another hydraulic hose manufacturer. Yeah, but first they were using Parker Hannifin. Parker Hannifin has a really good, really high quality connectors too for hydraulics. So usually, and then I'm looking at like buying more Dollar General. Dollar General, I remember it was Dollar General went down a lot. Yeah, it was 115 or 110. It went to 110. Then it went to 90. It went down, and now it's like in the high 70s. And I'm thinking, geez, I've been dollar cost average trying to dollar cost average down Dollar General down to like dollar cost average to like $94 a share, and I have like 4 or 5 shares of Dollar General. And I'm thinking, well, the dividend is good, and it's a kind of store where they put them in rural areas where there's not a lot of where there's not a lot of population density, but they're trafficked areas. So it'll be like an intersection between like two towns. There might be the highways might cross over to go from one town to another town. It's a central, more of a central location, but it's not heavily populated. So what they'll do is they'll build a Dollar General, and they'll specifically put the Dollar Generals in these areas that are their clients aren't like a real populated area. Usually they're like in a off between two small towns, or in a small town they'll have a Dollar General. But a Dollar General just does what a convenience store does, only a little better, only a little more um, focused not on just gasoline sales, but in automotive. But they'll just have a lot of, like, it's like a mini grocery store or a mini supermarket. Yeah, I've been noticing like Tide, right? Have you noticed going into the market and the laundry soap Tide, they built like a cage around Tide soap. And I looked it up, and it was like people use Tide as like to barter with, right? I guess if it has a really long shelf life, right? You could buy Tide soap and store it forever. So it's kind of, if you use a lot of Tide soap, you buy it in bulk, and that way when the price goes up over time, you're still using the soap that you bought when it was a few bucks less per gallon. And it's currently, there's other items, household items like that too, that don't spoil or don't degrade, and you could keep them at room temperature. And if you know, like for me, vinegar, right? So I use vinegar, and I use vinegar to clean my floors and to wash clothes in. And sometimes I'll use the vinegar and I'll put it in spray bottles, and I'll spray down my countertop. with vinegar, and cleaning glass too with vinegar too. So I use vinegar a lot. So that might be one item that you could like. I'm just talking to myself now, that I should stock up on and like get like 4 or 5 gallons of it and just keep it in my stock it in my closet, in my cabinets. And then instead of like once a month buying a gallon of it, every month I buy a gallon. Instead of that, I'll buy a whole like 6 months supply, and I'll keep it in my house, and I know, because if the prices keep going up, then I can stock up on it and still pay the lower price before they raise the price of it. So I'm thinking of doing that. I was thinking of doing selling all of my Beyond Meat stock that I have, or selling off a big part of my Beyond Meat stock, and buying a chest freezer, and just like smurfing, going around smurfing up all the Beyond Meat burgers, or the Beyond Meat chicken, and smurfing it up from the stores, and in and stuffing my chest freezer with Beyond Meat products before the company goes away, because it looks like, well, the company might go away because they're not making enough money, and the shareholders keep selling off. The stockholders are getting impatient, and they're starting to sell it off. And that's what I thought about a lot, is to pay my bill, like pay my phone bill. If I have enough shares of Verizon, then I can use the dividend from the shares of Verizon to pay the some of my phone bill with. The same thing with like my stock I have in Kroger Markets, so that I could, if I have enough stock in Kroger Markets, I can use the dividends for supplementing my grocery bill. Same thing with like Levi's. I have which maybe I should buy more stock in Levi's, because I have like 5 shares of Levi's. The thing I didn't like about Levi's is the quality of the Levi's brand has, especially the denim, right? It's not as good as it used to be. I remember going and buying a denim pants, and they'd be like blue dye, right? And you have to pre-wash it to get rid of the blue dye, and then that those pants would last and last and last and last. You could wash them, they could last. You could go through hundreds of wash cycles with the old style pair of Levi's, and you'd put them on, and they'd still be like, like wearing new pants, right? It lasts a long time. But now it seems like the newer Levi's fall are more like get loose. They don't fit as tightly over so many wash cycles that they get worn out easier. They're thinner. The material, the thread count's different, or the material, the cotton's different. Maybe it's a thicker thread. They used to use a thicker thread with more of that blue dye, and they don't use that same size thread now. It's smaller. And I would buy the 505s because they had the boot cut. I'd like that. And the 501s and the 505s with the zipper. I think the 501s had the zipper. Maybe it was the 505s. And it was the one kind of pants that I could buy, and I know if I bought a pair, it would last me a long time. I could wash them a lot, and they wouldn't fall apart. But shoot, old men, when they get old, they get a belly, and they need a belt to wear with their pants, because if I just put my pants on, because of my waist size, it slips down my pants. So I have to put a belt on now. When I was younger, I didn't know. Yeah, so I don't know what to say. I don't have anything to say really. it's funny, since Trump won the election, um, like eh, Putin was saying, well, at least he's like he's congratulating Trump on winning. So I don't think I've ever heard. I don't think they've other leaders of other countries have did ever said that about other presidents. Maybe I don't know, but it's even though I don't like politicians, right? I don't like people. It's just like I'm not really interested in politics that much, but at least it seems that Trump is more of a better person to have to negotiate with other leaders of other countries, to interact with the leaders of other countries, and not so be standoffish. Whereas Biden was more standoffish. He was more like he'd stay by himself. He wouldn't. If they had him on the podium, and he was more scripted. Everything he did was more scripted, and Trump is more. He's not scripted so much, and it makes you well. At least he's not script. He's not reading a teleprompter all the time, right? He's more. From what I've heard him say, he speaks as if he's just talking from uh, uh, not it pre-scripted, not to say this and this beforehand, but he'd know. He would be at a press conference and people would ask him questions, and they wouldn't have all these questions already written down, and they know beforehand to be ready to answer this question, and then he would answer the question. No, he would just be like, ask a question, and he'd know how to answer the question. And Biden was like he'd get on stage, right? And he'd get confused and they'd have to tell him which way to go. He'd get off the helicopter and be walking to the White House, and he'd keep walking straight, and they'd have to get him to walk and turn back, and it was like he needed a lot of sleep too, because he's older, right? And he needed to rest a lot. He wasn't like. So I don't. I was not. Biden did not make me feel like, God, I'm glad he's my president. I didn't feel like that. I didn't even want to. I didn't even really like hearing him give his talking. I was sorry. Well, at least Trump is more. He's kind of interesting to listen to, but sometimes it's just that. Oh my gosh, did he just say that? Does he? Is he really? Is he serious? I'm thinking, is he serious? And but other than that, I don't know. I didn't vote for him. I mean, I voted for the Green Party, Jill Stein. Uh, I kind of knew, well, they're not going to win. At least I'll just vote what I think who I would vote for, and probably not thinking like an investor should think. Somebody that owns a lot of stocks wouldn't vote Green Party normally, and somebody that's a homeowner too, pays taxes more than the average person pays taxes. Um, or if a renter doesn't pay the same amount of taxes that a homeowner pays. So if you're renting an apartment, it's the taxes that your landlord pays, the owner of the apartment building you're renting, they pay the taxes on that. So you are partially making a payment into the property taxes of that where you're renting from. So and a lot of it goes to the schools, and I shouldn't complain. That should be like, well, it's good that kids are getting a good education. I'm for younger people having an opportunity to get a well um, informed and guide and given good guidance when they're younger about career choices and about learning how to interact at a job situation, how to be, being a good employee, getting, being able to do your job, being able to do that. That's a lot of school, a lot of, K1 through 12 is preparation for um, being an employment, being an employee, not, But that's changed. Maybe today it's more like school should be about entrepreneurship and teamwork and kaizen and learning about how to start your own business. So if you went to school and there was more electives at the school, it was more like, okay, so you could go. So the high school has a program where they build a house. I mean, from dirt to a completed, finished house. There's a class you take in high school where everybody in that class spends the whole year building a house. So you learn uh, about drafting, about some like architectural drafting, doing a site plan, a site review, doing a survey, doing of how to design and build a house foundation, and building plans, how to read blueprints, and how to understand framing and what the house framing is and how it attaches onto the ground, and about plumbing, about electrical, about roofing, about siding, about putting carpeting in, about all the home electrical. So the high school class is everybody in the class is involved in building a house. So in my view, education should be that should be education. That should be almost like if you pass a certification in home building, right, then you should be able to get a job as a plumber or not licensed, but a an intern. So plumbing internship or home electrical internship or carpentry cabinet making internship, that you work for somebody that does that because you've graduated from your high school class and you've learned that in the program. So now you can go out and take those skills and apply them in the work world. But you have to work at first, you work on a discount, and it's a trial basis. There's no, they don't hire you and they're not committed to go through your uh, uh, they already know you know the trade already because you've gone through the high school, the program that you took in high school where everybody built a house. Or it might be, the same thing with automotive technicians too, or automotive. You have a class that's a class in the high school, and that whole year, the two semesters for that year are are all automotive tech, like how to change a tire, how to change your oil, how to diagnose problems with your car, how to repair, like do body work, how to do like um, servicing on the engine, and everything inside and out for vehicle, for owning a vehicle, for repairing a vehicle, for taking care of a car. That, and then when you graduate high school, you have a certification in auto mechanics, right? In auto tech, right? So you could just go anywhere and they'd hire you. They'd just pay you like a low wage, but they would pay you. You get your foot in the door because you went to the high school where when I grew up, it was more academics. It was more English, literature, history, American history, um, uh, pre algebra, algebra, um, trig calculus, and health, driver's ed, business class, which was typing, learning how to type on a typewriter, and drafting. They had a drafting class, and then there was biology, so it was pretty well rounded in school when I went to school. But I think today, to succeed, for individuals to succeed, high school should be more like, this is what your profession is going to be, right? When you're in high school, this is what you're going to do for a living. So while you're in high school, you're preparing yourself for how you're going to earn a living when you're 18, right? Not just about reading and writing and arithmetic. That should be something that you learn in your early grades, and you get reviews. You have to review it, through high school, but not as a not as a not the not cal. If you're going to be an auto mechanic, you don't need to learn calculus, or you don't maybe need to learn a lot about American history, or how to write really well, be really good at grammar and writing and that. So you don't need that discipline so much as you need to know about um, purchasing auto parts, right? So you learn about you're going to be doing a lot of automotive repairs, and what did they do in the automotive repair world? They have a parts department, right? So you learn about um, what a parts department does. You learn about ordering parts, what's compatible, what's not compatible for make and year and make and model of the different vehicles. So you would be like having an internship too. If you're in high school and you're taking automotive for during your junior and senior year, then you want to know everything there is to know about cars and about maintaining cars, or motorcycles too, or any kind of like watercraft, boats or something that's it's a transferable skill. So if you learn about engines and about mechanics and about um, repairing and maintaining a vehicle, you might be able to transfer that to boats or any other discipline. But to spend a lot of time in high school and learn the insides and outs of about kind of profession you could get to and move anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the world, wherever you go, those skills that you learned, you could apply them and learn and make a living wherever you go. So you're not in the old days, like you get a factory job, right? But if you have a factory job, you you only know that one how to do that one thing really well in the factory, right? So if the factory goes out of business or they close or they move, then and they don't you don't move with them, then you have to go get another job. And if your skills are just specifically tailored toward that one area in that one kind of business, then it's going to be harder for you to find work, right? But if your skill is like automotive repair or or real estate development, like renovating a house, refurbishing, like take a class, take a high school class, and that might be a whole high school class where you spend 1 year and you learn about real estate, you learn about buying a house, you learn about repairing a house, you learn about listing the house and selling it, right? And so what the class does is that in the beginning of the year they buy an old broken down house somewhere in town, right? And then each one day a week you go to a field trip to that house, and they have all the tools there, and they have new carpet, and they have windows and doors, and they have like drywall and paint and wood, and you source wood for repair, and you learn about redoing the floors and fixing a floor, repairing a window, or doing like um, shingling a house, putting a new roof on a house. So with the high school classes, they buy an old house somewhere, and part of the curriculum in the class is that one day a week you go and you repair the floors in the house. So the whole class will be there and they'll repair the floors, and then have have 1 week you'll go there and they have a window or some windows, and they take the old window out and they put the new window in. But you're there with the teacher is an experienced carpenter handyman that's showing the class how to do all the repairs to fix the house up. So when that and then at the end of the year, what they'll do is they'll sell the house, and while they in the whole time that you're learning about, well, I could go out after I graduate high school, right? I could go work for somebody that buys and fixes up houses and sells them, that I could do that on this. I could do that as like an apprentice, right? I could find a guy that does that and be like a gopher for him and learn all about it, and then eventually save up enough money where I could buy an old house that needs repair because I know about how to evaluate to see whether or not it's a fixer upper, whether or not it's the foundation and the bones of the house are good, and I could fix it up and sell it. So today, when you learn whatever you need to learn to survive, that you can apply that knowledge, and you just don't need to have your factory worker, and you use the same machine every day, use that same machine, same or machines. That's all you do, and so when they go out of business, and that's all you know how to do is use that machine, you're screwed. it, Nobody should get in that situation. No one. It should be that when you go to school, at least when you're ready to, before like the last 3 years in high school, should be about learning to do something that you're not stuck, right? So if you get stuck and you can't find work anywhere, you could get out of town, go somewhere. There's somebody that needs like auto repair. They need a technician that knows about this kind of model of car, this make and model. And you went to school, you learned about that. So you go there and they give you a job. There's no, I need a job, I need a job, I can't find a job, I can't find a job. No. You've learned something that you can apply that doesn't require you to have any one really specialized area of skill, right? You're generalized, like I can see that. I can see going to a class in high school, and I can see one of the classes being like home renovation, right? So what they do is a school district buys a dilapidated house that's it really need a repair, right? So they go through everything. They might even have to put new walls in, or like redo flooring, fix a roof that's a broken, leaky roof, right? They could take the joists out, redo all the cabinets, and re-level the house, and fix the windows, and insulate it better, repair the plumbing, redo electrical wiring, fix the electrical outlets, and make sure everything's working properly. And then the whole class is, there's a guy there that's a house flipper guy, that's an all around handyman person that does for what they do for a living is they buy old dilapidated beat up houses and they flip them, right? They fix them up and remodel them and flip them and make 20, 30, $40,000 within a period of a couple of months. And they take that knowledge and that skills, and they can teach that to the younger people, that when they get out of high school and they're not wondering, what am I going to do for a living? Oh, and I got to go back to school, and a trade school, right? And go 2 years, and I don't know. It just seems unfair. It seems like life is unfair, especially to younger people now. I really feel really bad for people that are in their like 20s and 30s, especially if they don't have rich parents, or they didn't have like an uncle that was on the board of directors of a big company, or they weren't already, their family wasn't already in a family business that they could just inherit and just be like, have a job there when they graduate high school already for them. Or like me, I had to go and do I had to do start out from scratch. There was nobody that I had an uncle that had a transmission shop. I worked for him for a little while, but it was like I wasn't even getting paid by the hour. Mostly I was getting paid by the amount of work that I did. That was back in the 70s and the early 80s. You could work, and you could keep a tally of, I did. Yeah, I worked for a guy that did everything was broken down by piecework time. Yeah, it's getting to be late, so I don't know. I've been on here an hour. I appreciate you guys coming around, listening to me, listening to old man ramble on. Take care.